It's made me, this hungry artist. Like, I was just like, I might be very misunderstood by people, but I'm like, nah, like, you don't understand the energy that I have right now. Like, it's literally do or die, and it's more just me on my own terms. I don't need to rely on anything for myself. It's sink or swim. And it's kind of, you can apply that to any situation in your life where you don't have to force it like I am per se, but it gives you that primal energy. I'm glad I'm locking in with it.
So you said you also are an author?
Yes.
How many books?
I'm in the process of writing my first one.
Okay, nice. What is it about?
Just kind of my life story, but it's not like a memoir per se. I'm trying to make like a new genre, because I graduated from this last year with a degree in social science.
Okay.
So I'm trying to create like a new genre of literature, kind of called American historical fiction, where it's kind of like public history, where it's talking about like what it was like for me growing up in the 2000s, but also just my life story. And then like I'm changing or omitting some details because I've gone through a lot in my life, trying to make it a click bit more happier, add more happier moments as well, so it's not like just super depressing all the time.
Right. But semi-autobiographical, but at the same time,
changing some stuff.
That's super dope, man. How far along are you in the process?
I'd probably say I'm like maybe like about 80% with the book done. Wow. Like I pretty much got up to the point of where maybe like high schoolish. So I was like, I'm about to be entering like that college phase almost of my life, and then talking about that, and then where I'm at currently. So
that's dope, man. I've told George and like a few of my friends, it's like, do you ever think of your life as a movie?
Yeah.
And then everybody's just like, no, and I'm like, really? I'm like, because I do, and I'm like, or a book, or like an animated show, or like a comic book.
I used to, even as a kid, like I used to always think of stuff like that. I remember like when I was in elementary school, I'd be like, oh, if my life was like a season of a TV show, who would be on my current season? And like who would be that like changing cast, who's actually sticking by, who's going to be into the next season, who's going to be like a callback episode or something, and I guess it kind of influenced my book and everything that I'm writing. So
yeah, it's like, who are the characters at that point, and then are they going to go elsewhere? Because I've told my brother I want to do kind of something very similar, and do kind of like a, let's say like kind of like a comic book, or kind of like an animated thing.
For me, it's also kind of a therapy project. So like I said, I got a degree in social science. I've taken psychology classes. I've taken a lot of ethnic studies, gender and identity politics, and a lot of different things like that. So I'm trying to have a spectrum of characters in there, but also I want like representation of myself and my community in there. And like I feel like there's not enough representation in media and stuff like that, so I'm trying to occupy space any way I can.
That's dope, man. Like the way that I've thought about it is, it's like, what better story to tell than that of yourself?
Yeah.
Right?
Like, who knows it better than yourself?
Exactly. And then you can kind of like tweak it, make it how you want. Like you said, kind of autobiographical, but you can change certain things. And then I've always thought of like, because my theme, I guess, would be more like comic bookish, but it's like, to me, all of my friends are heroes. Right?
No, I love that. With me, this first book that I'm working on, I don't want to omit some of the dark details of my life and stuff that I've had to overcome.
Right.
I want to make a second book that's tailored to kids that might be going through something that I similarly went through, and just kind of have that. Instead of having those dark moments happen, I kind of have this idea of a superhero coming in and saving the day every single time. And I kind of consider, whether people are religious or not, whether you believe in God or not, they can associate whatever they want with that superhero.
Right.
It's like they were protected through that.
Yeah. It's, I've always thought about doing it for my nieces, right? I've told my nieces, like, for example, I told her a long time ago when she was little, Mom was just like, I'm not going to tattoo this arm because I want... Both of my nieces draw, and they draw really well, right? And one of them likes comic books a lot. And I said, I want you and your sister to help me.
It. Yeah. That's awesome.
And I was like, do you want to do like a comic book cover? I was like, or do you want to do panels? And then she's like, no, like panels. And I was like, all right, cool. And then I want them to again, maybe know the story of me, how I look at it, and then like our family. And then again, there's like certain things where I think you can provide like little like teaching moments and like little nuggets of, you know, how to be happy or how to like deal with things, or things that we to a certain extent kind of go through, but like in different forms and different variations of things.
What I love about tattoos and tattoo culture is like a lot of, like there's sometimes a divide on tattoo culture where people are like, oh, like this is just my doodle, like I just got whatever I wanted. I was just like, you know, that those tattoos mean something specially for that one person. I was just like, but I'm very much similar, where I was like, I want a specific art piece to represent certain things. And so I have 2 tattoos. Like, like this one right here. This one actually has more sentimental value to me over time. It originally was just a Friday the 13th tattoo. Yeah. But I actually got it as a matching tattoo with 2 of my friends, and one of them is no longer with us.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of like a memory of him. You know, it's also a different era of my life. So with me, I don't think I'd ever wanted to get it covered up, but I might want to change it into being something more meaningful to represent what he was in my life.
And that's what one of the things that I tell people is tattoos or whatever story you've told yourself, right? Because some people it's like, well, this means this or this symbolizes that, and I'm like, maybe and there's certain things that do have certain symbolism, but to me, it's like it's whatever story you've told yourself, right? And to each their own, right? Like you can go somewhere and be like that. Here, right? Well, I think it's cool.
Something that with me, because I'm Filipino, so it's like a lot of people would probably associate Filipinos with being like very associated with like earth spirits and stuff like that. So something that I kind of wanted to have is like as a tattoo idea for my left arm is actually I want to travel the world. So whole point of my education and everything was I wanted to go into teaching. I wanted to just serve in like public schools and stuff like that. But everyone that was I've been talking to is like, you can put that on pause if you want to. I was just like, there's no per se benefit from doing it sooner. But if you have some kind of passion, anything you want to pursue in your 20s, I say go for it and shoot for it. So that's what I'm kind of at right at this point. But as I travel the world, what I was thinking about doing is really taking in like the local scenery, like the local nature and stuff like that, and possibly getting like flower tattoos of native flowers from there. And so I was just kind of getting that, and by the time that I've traveled a lot of places, you'll start to see that fully form on my arm.
Yeah, that's I have a buddy who he works for Katy Perry. And then when they go on tour, everybody who's on the tour, you know, like they get a tattoo in like a city or something like that. So there's a lot of like meaning and symbolism. Like
I would say someone that's very similar to that would be Dave Bautista.
Oh yeah.
Like so, it's just like he has some tattoos, like especially on his hands, where he's like, oh, this is like a movie I did. This is a movie I did. This is like for my co-star from this movie, and like actors use things like that too. And then I was like, but when you watch them in movies, you don't see those tattoos because they, you know,
covered up if the character doesn't.
Or
have
they might edit it out like afterward, and then that's a whole nother thing too, because technically that's someone else's job. Someone had to go in and like modify that so to be out of it. But I love tattoos. I was like, even with myself. I'm not fully Filipino, or I like to say Ilocano because that's specifically where my people are from. But I'd like to get like Ilocano tribal on my chest piece and my arm. The only issue with that is that with Ilocano culture and stuff is, you know, you had Spanish colonization happen, then you had American occupation after that, where a lot of our culture and customs and stuff like that wasn't per se passed on, and a lot of Spanish influence came in. So you have to kind of like go to the regions nearby there to kind of uncover that, and it's just kind of a journey. I've never been able to go back to the homeland because my economic situation, but I'd love the opportunity to eventually do that and possibly get like a traditional tattoo, and it'd be it'd be my chest and my arm.
That's dope, man. Yeah, because I mean things get diluted over time.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, the Spanish colonization, that's why all Filipinos have Hispanic last names.
Right? It's actually interesting that you bring that up, too, because like a lot of people would sometimes forget that, too, that not only that, but it kind of, the Filipino last names, it goes alphabetically from like the region that you're from.
Oh, wow.
So, for example, my Filipino name would be Caliente, but that's because like I'm from
you are pretty caliente.
Yeah, so that's from like the northern part of the islands. Like if you see like A's, if you see B's, if you see C's, like that's kind of the region that you're from. If you see people that have like a G, like a Guzman, it's probably like heading more down the island. The lower you go on the island, it goes alphabetically. And so I was just like, you have like Luzon, which is like you can break down the Philippines either by different sections, like specific provinces, or you could break it down by the three main kind of areas. So that would be like Luzon. You would have Visaya, and then Mindanao. Yeah, Pacquiao, of course. He gets his own region.
His own little island. That's dope, man.
Yeah, so it's just like that's just some history, I guess. It's like got my education with that, so I was like, I'm a historian too. I was like, I really like the differences that are going on with that too, especially with education. Trying to do that in elementary, middle school, high school, and stuff is we're actually shifting away from just teaching U.S. history. We're actually planning on changing it to be ethnic studies because we want to show world culture, world histories, and just have that more fuller, and kids to be exposed to it more.
So that could be a part 2 of your book.
It could
because like right now you're gonna write your book until the time of your life, and when you finish it,
yeah.
And once you start traveling, you have your
that's
own.
I mean, with everything that I have going for myself, or that I'm planning at least, that's definitely I'm planning on documenting.
Well, can't wait to read it. Very nice meeting you, man.
Thank you.
I'll hit you up when I'm done.
Yeah, if you're gonna
keep me on updates with that comic book and that tattoo.
Yeah, man, we'll do.
Have fun, man.
All right.
All right, man.
You ready?
Sorry we started a little late.
No, you're good. Like I said, I was like, you're taking your time to support me and vice versa. So I was like, anything you need to just relax, just take your time with it, man.
Let's see here.
This is all your art?
This is all mine, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'll show you my phone real quick.
Whole set like you're very much like me. Like you're an expert doing different things that like all at the same time. So it's like me, we're both artists. And this is your canvas. So I thank you for allowing me to be here and working.
Yeah, man,
with
I appreciate it. It's fun.
It is.
It's
yes.
fun. It's what I always say. It's a
Is
creative.
it okay if I record this too?
Yeah,
like,
for
just
sure, man. Absolutely. Do you want like a tripod or something?
It'll be fine. It's just gonna be chilling on the phone, like the chair with me.
Oh, okay.
It'll be all right. It's just going into voice memos.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Low tech over here.
Yeah, so it's a creative outlet for me. You know, so many people do podcasts nowadays,
right?
And when I was doing it, I think we've been doing it for putting out podcasts for about a year, but we've been filming for a lot longer. And I just thought it'd be cool to give people a platform.
Yeah,
and then
awesome.
for us to be able to edit the content our own way. It's not gotcha content, so it's not
it's very, that's why I was very drawn to it, even from like the first clips that I saw. Is it's very raw, authentic. Like you can feel everything that anyone's saying in your podcast, and it's very palatable. Like you're just like, wow, like I can relate to this person almost immediately,
That's cool. That's a big word, palatable.
College educated over here.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear me. I'm gonna be a thesaurus today. So.
A plethora of words. It's funny. I was talking to a friend who's a writer. She's gonna be on the podcast in like maybe next month.
I write also.
Oh, you do?
I do.
I'm gonna ask you all about you and your shorts.
Sounds good.
And she like sometimes when I've been speaking around her. She's like, dude, you use big words. I'm like, well, it depends on who you're speaking to.
Right.
You don't want to just sound like a pompous asshole.
100%.
I
mean, I feel like even for myself, I was like, I can talk street too. I grew up in LA.
Where'd you grow up at?
I lived off of Sunset. I actually like Echo Park, but I wasn't like bougie Echo Park. I was like rundown apartment Echo Park. I lived really close. I maybe lived like 5 miles from Dodger Stadium, or Chavez Ravine as I like to call it. My brother, like we had a lot of stories growing up where we'd be a little rebellious, sneak out. Parents wouldn't know. You know, we'd go climb a ladder, which, you know, like a bunch of little kids doing that. Like we'd go watch the fireworks from our rooftop. That was
That's
like
pretty cool. That's
that's
good
definitely a core
memories.
memory for me and him.
I just found out it was maybe within the last year about Chavez Ravine
Mm,
and how those people got moved out.
right.
Um, but
I'm conflicted because like that's my team. Like technically, but I was just like I remember when I finally found out about that, I was just like, you know, they've done interviews interviewing like former residents, families that were displaced and things like that, and their reactions. And some of like the older ones are like, no, like everyone needs to know this history. And then you talk to some of their kids or grandkids, and they're like, I'm still a Dodger fan.
that's exactly it. So I watched this documentary where it's a photographer, right?
Mm,
So this photographer like shows all these old pictures of the ravine
mm,
back in the day. And you know the little huts and all
yeah,
that shit, like, you know, people used to live there. And so the photographer put everything together in an album, and then they show it to those kids that are in the pictures from way back when,
mm-hmm,
and they're crying.
yeah,
You know, this is when we got kicked out. This is what happened. And then again, they also interview their descendants, and they're also Dodger fans, and they're conflicted with the fact that their grandparents, you know, or great grandparents
right,
got kicked out, and they're Dodger fans, but then they see the pictures and they're like, "Fuck!" Like that
yeah.
whole situation. Um, yeah, you know,
It's interesting to see how people like retell that story because I want to say I might not have watched that documentary exactly. I might have seen bits and pieces of it. I've read articles on it as well. But I remember even one time I saw someone's creative take on it was they made a TikTok video where they recreated the scene for TikTok. Like,
okay.
and they like, you know, is over the top. Like they had like fake mustaches and they're like, oh, like that whole scene of them like pretty much like getting like kicked out of their house and
Yeah.
just kind of like I think they might have had like that final scene where, you know, it showed like the last holdout.
It I don't know, man. I have two ways of looking at things
Mm,
like that. And one of them people will misinterpret, not misinterpret because it's I think rightfully so, like
right.
a complete asshole.
Mm.
And that
It's
asshole,
okay to be assholes sometimes.
but that asshole is, well, who gives a fuck? I mean, the Dodgers got their fucking stadium. It happens, right?
Right.
It's kind of like the whole issue of colonization,
Mhm.
right? Um, you know, and I think in my mind, well, you know, I'm from Central America. You know, we were colonized. Mexico was like we were all colonized, right? And the
I
Spanish.
think what you're I don't mean to cut you off
No,
here
no, no,
either.
no.
Is just
You're
kind
good.
of like the I guess the victim mentality some people take
Correct.
sometimes is kind of like, you know, if I have a mentor that put it up this way is, you know, would you rather be the person with a sign outside the castle picketing and with a pitchfork being like, "Hey, let us in." Are people gonna let you in? Are people gonna listen? Are people gonna look at you like as if you're like mad, angry, might misconstrue what the message and why you're doing these things? Or would it be easier to have an actual conversation about it? You know, and I like I think even for myself, I don't try to I think I have the same fuck it mentality sometimes, but I was like at the same time, like I try to pay respect to those people that actually experience those things at the same time.
True. It's kind of like the thing you were talking with Diego about the Philippines, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like I understand both sides, and I can argue both sides, and I can argue both sides very dickishly or intellectually.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes I'm just like, dude. Okay, so again, Central America. If
Mhm.
Central America wasn't colonized, I wouldn't be around. That's
Right.
fucking simple,
I
right?
wouldn't I wouldn't be in America in the US right now if everything that happened within my family and ancestry didn't go off. I
If it,
wouldn't be talking to you right now if that was the
it
case.
correct. So it's like, well, you want to rewind things and separate things, but then it's like, but we wouldn't be where we're at. Like, I get
Mhm.
what you're saying. I understand your point, but it's almost like the victim mentality. Like, dude,
Mhm.
like now that we're here, yes, you know, be proud of your roots, be proud of your heritage, be proud of your history. But at the same time, it's like, how do you move forward?
I would say that it's you move forward through reclamation. That's something that's been very deep for myself, it's taken me, I'm 24 years old now, but it's taken me 24 years to understand my purpose and where I'm going, and representing and trying to reclaim that history is something that's positive. And I'm very fortunate that there's a lot of historians, there's a lot of documents, there's a lot of people that have pretty much laid out the breadcrumbs for me to be able, like, okay, this is how I could potentially do this.
So what do you do exactly?
I'm an artist.
Okay.
So I don't like labels. I
Okay.
think labels limit people. They try to fit people within a binary box and just like, okay, well, you're just a DJ, which, I'm a DJ, or you're just a producer. Well, now you're just a producer. I also do photography. I do videography. I do visual media. I know how to edit photos and stuff. I'm currently in training to become a wrestler.
Oh, really?
Um,
That's why you're showing off your legs.
yep. And I come to squeeze. But yeah, so I was like, I try to use as many canvases as possible. I'm writing a book currently about like my own life experience. I graduated with a degree in social science, meaning, I have history, I have like ethnic studies, gender identity, politics. Actually have an emphasis kind of more on understanding race and representation in media.
Okay.
So that's like TV. Like I can watch something in a movie and get all these tiny little like nuances most people wouldn't get.
Okay. I think I talked about this before, but and again, it's gonna sound like I'm a fucking asshole. I'm just like, I'm all for us being represented,
Hmm.
but I'm also like, you're fucking shoving it down my throat now,
Right.
and it's annoying, right? For me,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
I
and
can completely understand that too. And I feel like the reason why it is because it feels like tokenship sometimes.
it feels
Like,
like it's
is
over
that
the
all that I
top.
am?
Or it just feels like it's over the top where it's like, okay, cool. Like, I mean, I've dated white girls and Asian girls
Hmm.
and black girls, but now it's like the Hispanic dude that looks super Hispanic with like a black girl and then an Asian baby. And I'm like, okay, why are you throwing so many cultures in one fucking commercial
Right.
where sprinkle it in, but it feels forced. And then again, I'm Hispanic, right? Like I it's really nice to see my specific background, which is Salvadorian,
Hmm.
because all of our life it was more of like seeing Mexican, right?
You have those microaggressions that come with that as well, where I was just like everyone just assumes you're Mexican by default. And it's just kind of like, no, I'm from El Salvador. Like
Yeah.
I grew up with like friends that were like Guatemalan, and I was just like, no, like they're proud of where they come from.
But that used to piss me off when I was a kid.
Mhm.
It used to piss me the fuck off. And then I got older. And then I understood. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm fucking proud of Mexicans. I'm proud of
Yeah.
Mexican culture. Fucking fly that flag because I identify with you.
Yes.
Where before it's like, no, I'm separate. I'm separate. And
Es mi gente en raza.
so I don't know, man. Sometimes I think like in a one-on-one conversation like you and I are having, I think we understand each other with what I'm saying and
Hmm.
what you're saying. But then sometimes people that are a little too extreme in their views, they have a hill to die on.
I could
And
understand that too. I think what is healthy to put in perspective, and what you're kind of getting at as well. At the end of the day, nationality stuff like that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're all human.
it does, dude, I used to on my TikTok when my account was super big, the biggest question I would get was, "What's your nationality? What's your nationality?" I wouldn't fucking respond. I wouldn't respond because, and I would never put a banner on my TikTok. I never put a banner on my Instagram. None of my social media says what I am because at the end of the day, I almost feel like it's a crutch. Like in my mind back then, I was like, it's a
Mm,
crutch because you're flying your flag kind of to attract people or to be proud of just the fucking fact that you were born over that line.
hmm.
You're
Yeah.
Salvi. I'm Salvi because I was fucking born there accidentally. I could have been in the US. Like you're just your nationality because that's where you were born. You're
Right.
not your nationality because, you know, you picked it.
Well, even with that, then you have the thing is you have complex questions of like, what does it even mean to be American? As
Mm.
like you have this this fake persona of what an American is, and then you have the reality of what that actually is. And like I think there's more truth in you and I being here in the US and being like, okay, we both identify as being American because of
Correct.
that, right? And a lot of people sometimes will just be like, oh, well, like this means that to me, or it's like they might just be like, I would say, just like nationally blinded, is like just kind of like putting it that way, I guess.
How is it I mean, you're 24, so you just got out of college.
I
Like,
did.
how is college right now? Like, how are,
It's interesting because like I went to Cal State San Bernardino,
okay.
and they very much push everyone to graduate within 4 years. We're a commuter campus, so my experience is a lot different from other people. There's a lot of stuff currently going on in college campuses, a lot of organizing and stuff, which you often see. There's a lot of historical stuff that happens on college campuses, and I would probably argue that it's a lot of signaling from the younger generation, and they're trying to point out issues and flaws that they see within our society, and that's kind of why you see people take up that way.
Yeah. Those little kids have annoyed the shit out of me. My pops grew up, well, obviously we all grew up in El Salvador, but, one of the things my dad would say, because in El Salvador, it's a civil war for 12 years.
Got you.
And my dad would say, he's like, I'm not fucking dumb. He's like, I wouldn't go to those meetings, those revolutionary meetings and
Mm,
all that shit. He's like, I'm getting my degree. Like, I need to have a professional career. He's like, I'm not fucking getting involved in overthrowing the government and all that
right.
stuff. His friend just came from El Salvador recently, and my dad, we went to dinner, and they were both telling me stories like, yeah, dude, we used to go to the playground as kids, and they used to, the gorilla would send pretty girls, right? They
Mm,
would send pretty girls to talk to us boys to try to convince us to go to their meetings.
right.
Um, and then they would tag up the walls and, liberation and freedom and all that shit. And so he's like, the janitor would scold them and like, kick him off the campus. Well, they shot him. And I'm
Oh
like,
shit.
the girls? He's like, yeah, those girls had guns on them. And, he was removing graffiti and then they shot him. And so he's like, I never wanted to be a part of that. And so the thing at the end of the day, my dad taught me to be very logical, not to be idealistic.
Hmm. That's
I'm
fair.
not. And he's like, think about things. He goes, what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong, but also don't be idealistic.
Don't blindly devote yourself to one ideal, and I think that's a big issue within my generation.
Those are the kids that I would want to punch
100%.
in the back of the head.
With me, I might have some similarities with those kids and
Sure.
stuff, but I do the work that, okay, well, this is one side of the coin.
Correct. I
Are
think
you
sometimes people are blinded by, uh, again, their beliefs to not see the other side. I
Mhm,
have that thing where I have to look at both sides. Even in my job, like what I do for a living is I have to help families,
mhm,
and I have to look at creative ways of helping families. But I also have to consider what the other side's going to look at, where the other side is looking at protecting the money,
right.
right? So we're looking at protecting the money, we're looking at protecting the family, but my mind needs to be completely open to interpretation
You're talking about your work as a production partner?
as a loan officer,
Oh,
yeah, in
gotcha.
finance.
And
So,
that's with Integrity Home Finance?
correct. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I got my little Google sheet here. I was just like, I did my research a little bit on you too.
Yeah. That's the thing I tell people. It's like, dude, you want to fucking find out about me? I'm all over Google,
Honestly, I got most of this information from LinkedIn, but I was just like, there's some stuff on. There's one thing in particular here that I definitely have questions to ask you about.
Sure, sure.
I was like, I know that with your podcast normally, it's just kind of go with the flow and whatnot, but I was just like, I'm using the Uno reverse card on you.
See, I don't think I've ever fucking played Uno.
No,
Nah, dude, I don't know how to play Uno. I don't know how to play Goldfish. Um, I don't fucking know how to play any card games.
that's
So,
fair. I mean,
reverse card. Let's go. Ask your question. I'll
the
answer it.
main thing I wanted to talk about was just the Children's Foundation of America.
Okay.
So on your LinkedIn, it said that you had been doing that for 7 years and 5 months. Why is it such a big thing for you? Like you're clearly, obviously, very community driven. You love to serve your community, give back to your community. You recently had that post where I don't remember where exactly you're at with, but you were with kids. I was like, I don't know if that was with them with the Children's Foundation of America, but why is that so important to you? Very simple question, I guess, but
Yeah, and I think it has a simple answer, and it can be more complex, but um, we've been there.
mm,
And what I mean by that is we've been in a situation where we didn't. It's funny. Diego was talking about the other day. He's like, "Remember when we used to go to that church and get food?" He's like, "In
mm,
Fontana." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "The taste of this just reminded me of that church we used to go to."
mm,
And so we're immigrants. We came to this country with nothing. Parents didn't know the language, you know, and we didn't have much,
right,
and our parents would try to provide as much as and as best they could. And so I remember going to food banks. I remember, and it's like fucking vivid in my memory of like just being there and fucking feeling like shit. Like we're
yeah,
poor, like fuck, like all my friends
going through
are
that as a kid,
correct. And understanding that my friends had a different life.
yeah,
And so for us, the kids, I don't have any kids.
same.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Pull out game strong. Nah.
Yeah. I was like, we have no kids that we know of.
That we know of. Yeah. So I have no kids, man, but I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair for kids to not have a toy for Christmas.
Mm,
Not have food. So my brothers and I do. There's a backpack program at Chafee High School that helps feed
mm,
kids. So they can go in any day during the week or on the weekend. They could pick up a backpack of food, hygiene products. And so it's all through volunteer work,
right,
right? So if they don't have money, we've already told them you can count on us, or just us putting the message out there has allowed other people to donate to the high school.
right.
For the kids, the way that it got started was one of the people from the foundation came. They came to one of the real estate networks that I'm a part of.
Mm,
I'm a board member for the Western Real Estate Professionals, and she was asking like, "Hey, can you guys adopt a child? I have these
mm,
cards. Can you guys adopt a child for Christmas? We have, their age, their sizes, a wish list." And I remember sitting there, dude, and nobody fucking approached her. There was about
damn.
100 people in the room. Nobody approached her, and I saw her, and I'm like, "Hey, she had a stack of fucking cards, dude." I'm like, "Is each one of those cards a kid?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then I said, "You know what? Give me." I think I said five. I think it was maybe five, maybe 10. The
Mm-hmm,
point is, I said, "Give me five of them." And then I got to the office and I handed them out to
mm-hmm,
everybody in the office. And I said, "Look, if you can't buy it, go to the store and buy it. Give me the receipt. I'll give you the money because I want you
mm,
to be involved in this."
right.
So I got rid of them immediately. And then I got rid of 10 more. I said, "Hey, I sent her a message, hey, can you give me 10 more?" And then 10 more. So I think sometimes people want to be able to give back. They just don't know how.
Right.
Or
I
they
think sometimes the limitations is your mind sometimes too. You're like, "Oh, how do I get back? How do I do something like that?" And I'm like, "Well, it just starts with thinking about it creatively. Just thinking about, how you can give. It doesn't have to be something that's just money and
it
stuff
doesn't
like
have to
that.
be
It can
money,
be
dude.
time, it can be, volunteering. It can be a plethora of options, just whatever suits you best. You can do that."
It is, man. And that's the thing. Like for us, the other one, the video that you just saw, we were at an entrepreneurship program. So we also help
Mm,
kids that want to be entrepreneurs. It was a 10-year anniversary. And
nice.
so then some of these kids want to do books, some of these kids want to do clothing. So we go in, we listen to them, we give them ideas. We're the shark, so we can invest in their business too. So
Okay.
my
So you get
brothers
that
and
like
I,
Shark Tank vibes
exactly,
with kids.
with
That's
kids.
awesome.
And so my brothers and I think we recognize, from our parents not having had enough, and then that we're in a position to always give back,
Yeah.
whether we're rich or we're not. We can always help. Dude, my dad fucking does that all the time. My dad will see someone and he'll buy him food.
Mhm.
He'll take a jacket from his car and he'll give it away. He'll give away blankets. He'll
Right.
carry extra stuff. So I've seen my parents do it. We've been in that position, and it's
You
the
know, you
right
know
thing
what
to
I
do.
I like to say is something that I've always observed is the people that give the most are often the people that have the least. Or at least, they know and can relate to being at that at some point within their life. And like I'm not saying that that per se like defines you, but you know, you always have that caring heart. Or you know, for me, like I grew up poor. I grew up in like Los Angeles with pretty much never being able to do things. Like I always wanted to do things. My dad was like, "Oh, I don't really think I have the money to do that," and I was just like, you know, well, you know, I guess I'll go play with sticks in the backyard.
Yeah, we used to have fake toy guns, which were sticks. We'd get on the roof and, jump off the roof and climb trees and, we had video games. Obviously, like, we got to a point where we finally had video games,
Same.
but it was your imagination,
Yeah.
your imagination. And so it's good to give back, man. And the thing is, look, these fucking kids, I'll say it that way, are gonna be in your community in a couple of years,
Right.
right? So those little 5-year-olds that are running around like acting amok, 10 years from now, the little 15-year-old adolescents, they're the ones breaking into your cars.
Right.
So if we can provide them something, and it doesn't even go with that thought process, right? This
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
an
Of course.
afterthought.
Of course. Of course.
But those are the kids that you help them, you give them
If
something,
you invest in
and
them
you
at that
invest in them
age,
at that age, they're gonna say, dude, like someone helped me out. Like
yeah.
maybe I don't fucking go down that path.
Yeah.
And some of them don't, well, like the Children's Foundation of America, those kids don't have parents, like they're foster kids, right?
Yeah.
So I had great parents growing up. I have great parents. My parents are fucking amazing. Um and I'm blessed to have had them in my life, but those kids don't.
Yeah.
And so that's why we like to give back, man. We like to give back as much as we can. Um, the ones that we focus on heavily are children. If you're an adult, again, dickish. It's your fucking fault. Get the fuck out of it. Like, if you're something happened to you, there's other resources. Someone else that's passionate about that particular topic or subject. Like my hat's off to you. It's just not my thing.
Right.
It's just not my thing. Do you do any charity work?
I have done it in the past. With me, I've been mainly trying to give back to my community any way that I can. I was like, I have a college education. I give free education, free resources and stuff, but I don't have anything concrete per se yet. I was
Like,
like,
what do
I
you
have
mean? You
a
you like tutor people?
no. Just with me, I want to be able to give free content, free stuff like that. That's like palatable to kids. I guess it's like very similar to what you're doing. I just don't know exactly what it is yet.
Okay. So help me understand that though. You want to be able to record or create media for children?
Yeah, whether it be like free books, stuff like that, like just educational tools and things like that.
So you would be creating it for people that,
Yes.
like, let's say someone has a book and then you want to do media around that.
Yeah. And I was just like something with myself, I guess, is just the biggest thing for me is I went through my whole college career thinking that I needed the label and title of a teacher, when in reality, I don't think I do per se. You can still impact kids' lives without even being in the classroom per se. I was like, by just being a role model, but just being around in that community and doing things like that.
Bro, Diego told me the other day, Diego goes on walks, hikes, runs,
Hmm.
you know, and he's like, dude, I was running by my house and I saw this fucking kid pop out of a bush. He's like, I literally saw a fucking kid pop out of a bush. And I'm like, yo, dude, are you all right? And he said, I'm all right. I think the kid was maybe about 15, 16.
Hmm.
And he started having a conversation with him because he saw, like, what the fuck is this?
Something's off.
Something's off. And the kid starts sharing with him, dad's an alcoholic, dad beats him.
Right.
The kid also gets into the liquor cabinet,
Mm,
um, and abuse, you know, and suicidal thoughts.
right.
This is again just some random fucking kid that and Diego just engaged him, and he's like, dude, I talked to him for a while just to kind of give him advice or try to hear him out.
Sometimes that's all people need.
Right.
That's all these like, because with me, I mean, I wasn't I was gonna hold off on this and just kind of talk about myself, but I actually was in the foster care system for about like 2 years.
Hmm.
I got put back into my family, but I was still abused. With me, you know, it's something that I had to live with, navigate and everything because I didn't have resources or the education about it, nor did I really know what to do. So I just kind of dealt with things and just kind of accepted things as they were.
I I didn't fucking understand that, dude.
Mm.
I didn't understand it, and it hurt. Um, it hurt a previous relationship I was in because I didn't know how to deal with someone who had gone through something like that.
It's big. Like, I think the biggest thing with me, I recently got out of a relationship where, I started more expressing certain things like that, and she's kind of like, I understand, I can empathize and stuff, but like I'm never gonna understand it to your level. Like my life doesn't compare to like that. And I was just like, at the end of the day, like I don't expect you to. I just, I don't want this thing to define me. I don't want it to just be that. Like I think in light of all these negative, dark stuff that I've been through, I don't want that to be the story of that. And that's like even with me with my book, me as an artist, my music, everything. I'm trying to turn all the negatives in my life into a positive, essentially. And it's kind of my safe outlet, my safe space to kind of just recover from everything. And it's been a very long journey for myself to get to that point because it's like, I mean, I felt very alone for a very long time. I think with technology, it made it easier for me to isolate myself, feel alone. I used to unhealthily cope by watching movies, by distracting myself with video games, with all that stuff. I essentially did that my whole life. And I'm finally at this point where I'm not using anything as a distraction anymore. I'm very, very aware of everywhere that I'm at. And like doors are opening up like very quickly for me. It's just kind of the limitation of my life was always my mind, and finally unlocking that and moving and to be able to push forward with that.
But how did you come to that realization? Is it like like on your own, or
It
someone
was it
helped you?
was on my own. It with me it was more just kind of healing from that trauma because like I think with me I had that baggage. I didn't really like I knew I was carrying it, but I didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
And for me, like I would blame myself. Like because I always felt alone, things like that. I didn't have someone to like guide me. My mom is diagnosed bipolar. My dad was the one ensuing like this abuse. He also has mental health issues. It was very hard because essentially, like I said, my mom diagnosed bipolar. My dad, I've self-diagnosed as potentially being schizophrenic and autistic and other issues as well. Um, but for me, I had to realize and come to the point that my parents' issues aren't my issues. I was raised by these two people that I still see the beauty between each of them. Everything that they've done for me made me who I was. But their behaviors, their mannerisms, and everything, I can still grow from that. I don't have to let that define me, and I can just be me and just breathe.
Sometimes, dude, it's like we fuck up. Obviously, I
I
think.
fucked up a lot.
Oh fuck, I fuck up all the time. But we forget that our parents are fucking people, bro.
Yeah. And that
And
that
they
was the
got
biggest thing
fucking
for me is
issues.
like, as much as I'd like to be that kid and be like, oh, like, fuck you, you hurt me, this, that. I'm like, no, you were there for me. You know,
As best they could.
right. I was just like, who am I to judge everything that you've been through? Clearly, my dad's a very hurt individual too. Then he might have, you know, he had the potential to move on past that, but instead he's held on to it for so long that there's no changing him at this point. I can still look him in his eyes and say I love him.
Right.
And I guess it's harder for me because I I know that if I was 100% honest with who I am with my dad, I don't think he would love me.
Mm,
He does love me in his own way, but I guess love me but wouldn't accept me. And there's a difference between that. And it kind of it makes me think, I guess, the movie Fences with Denzel Washington. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
dude, I've seen so many fucking movies. I just have a horrible memory.
You're like, I've seen so many Denzel Washington movies too.
Yeah, man. Denzel. Baby. Him
But
and his fucking teeth. Uh, he's such a great actor, bro. He has such
yes.
a great mind, but
The movie, I'm like I said, in
tell me about
Fences,
Fences.
there's a line in the movie where he says, he's talking to his son, where he's trying to teach him how to be
Oh,
a
he's the garbage
black man.
man.
Yes.
Okay,
He's
yeah,
talking about
yeah,
like the garbage and all that. Yes, that movie.
yeah. Okay.
Where he says, he's like, you don't have to like me, you don't have to like do this. He's like, but like, I'm providing for you.
Right. That's when he's outside.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, I remember that scene.
And
Okay.
so kind of like like that is, you know, I still acknowledge everything that my parents did for me, and I was just like, you know what, I don't diminish that whatsoever.
Yeah, dude. I was talking to Novocaine.
Right. Love Novocaine.
You
I
do?
mean, I'm a
Yeah.
DJ, so I was like, I'm
Do you know
very
him?
familiar. I do know him, not less on a personal basis, more that I've been familiar with his journey. I've always the biggest thing with me within the industry is I've been a DJ performing at live venues for about 3 years. I've been a DJ for 8. I've been a musician for 14.
What kind of instruments do you play?
I used to play the clarinet violin.
Okay. Novocaine played the clarinet.
Ah,
Uh,
let's go, clarinet
he
boys.
said I think he said he thought it was the trumpet, but he picked the clarinet, and then he's like, then my mom bought it, and I'm like, fuck. So I had to play the clarinet. So you
No,
played the clarinet in like middle school,
it was
or
middle school. You right on there. So I was like, with me, it's funny because I learned how to play the violin when I was living in LA,
you still
and
play the violin or clarinet?
I could probably pick it up and play something. With me, it's muscle memory. Like it's all locked away. I was like, if I picked it back up, I could probably pick it up really quickly.
Yeah.
You know, just dedicated how I am, I could probably do it. But I wanted to play the violin when I came out to Moreno Valley, and I moved there when I was like about like 10, 11, and they didn't have violins. They said, I was like, oh, you gotta pick a new instrument. I was just like, I didn't know what all these different instruments were, and like, oh well, we'll give you a clarinet. And you know, from that point, from middle school, even into high school, I was like, whenever I bring up that I played the clarinet, people are like, oh, so what Squidward plays from SpongeBob, and I'm like, not the same thing.
What does he play? I
He
mean, I
does
don't
play.
know.
He plays the clarinet, but he plays it really badly. Like
Oh, okay, okay.
it like hurts your ears.
Excuse me, I've never watched SpongeBob.
It's well, because like clarinet is and that's fine. It's something I was like,
Yeah,
you had different cartoons growing up than I had, and that's something that I can relate to my generation with. Your generation has different cartoons and different media that they consume that they can relate to. I think even with myself, like I can still appreciate that stuff. Like with
yeah.
me, I X-Men 97.
Dude, I just so my pops used to watch cartoons with us, right?
Mhm.
My dad loves cartoons.
Okay.
He used to go sit in a window to watch TV because he was that poor.
Mm.
So, like when he got
That's
to
an experience people don't even get like nowadays per se, because it's like you don't really have like television stores that have like, oh, here's the TV, here's
Mhm.
the display of that. You might have a display inside like a Walmart or something.
Right.
You don't have that anymore. So
No.
even when we're talking about it right now, there's people that are listening to this that are like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah, so imagine a fucking little town, dirt roads and shit, and then inside of that town there's a little shop, and
Mhm.
inside that shop there's a little TV, and he used to go outside and, you know,
Right.
try to watch that TV. And so he grew up watching cartoons with us, like fucking G.I. Joe,
Right.
X-Men.
Yes.
But once cartoons, they started drawing cartoons differently. Again,
Mm.
he's like, these look like fucking little kid cartoons, like the SpongeBob shit.
Fair.
Versus X-Men, it's like realistic type drawings, or like the not realistic, but you get what I'm
I
saying,
would
like the
say
difference.
the generation after that tried to flip that back on its head. Even as you had like the early 2000s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was
Uh-huh.
more for a mature audience,
Right.
talks about issues that kids could potentially still go through. Kids like me that like had not the best upbringing, but I was like, you fight your demons.
Right.
Um, another one, I said Teen Titans,
Teen Titans.
not Teen Titans Go, Teen Titans.
Okay, what's that one about? Because Teen Titans would be a DC.
It is, yeah. So it's DC Comics. So
Okay, okay.
Teen Titans is DC.
Okay, so it is, and with
Yeah.
Robin and
Starfire, Raven,
Okay, cool.
Cyborg, Booyah.
yeah, those are all dope. I don't think I ever saw the cartoons though.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like I said, you still had SpongeBob, which is like that campy, like silly.
Fucking, like Ren and Stimpy, I fucking hated. Beavis and Butthead, I fucking hated. Like The
I'm right there with
Simpsons,
you.
I didn't like because the way they were drawn. That
Very, I could understand that.
do you know what I'm saying?
I
Like
get what
that
you're saying.
style of draw, like
Compared to looking at something like X-Men,
correct.
Compared to that, you're like, what? Did we just drop off on quality? Like,
I'm just
okay.
like I couldn't wrap my head around it. Now, if I watch The Simpsons, I'm like, it's nostalgic. I like them, but I can. Yeah, SpongeBob. I don't know. I can't. I'm sorry. So you played the clarinet, the violin, right? What
Yeah.
else do you play?
That was pretty much just that. But the thing is, my dad was very tech savvy.
Okay.
So with him, he had this once again, this is
What's your
kind of
dad's name?
my dad's name is Edmund. What?
Edmund?
Yes.
Okay. Like
So
Edmund Dantes?
I'm not
Edmund.
following.
Edmund Dantes from The Count of Monte Cristo. Have you seen The Count of Monte Cristo?
Is it with
Uh,
who's in it?
Jim Caviezel.
I'm blanking.
Jim
I don't think
Caviezel's
so.
the guy from the movie the Mel Gibson one, Passion of the Christ.
Okay, I have seen that.
Yeah, so it's a movie, dude. If you're a historian, right? You like that stuff. There's this book, and it's called The Count of Monte Cristo.
Mhm.
It is a fucking thick ass book. It's that thick.
When I was a teenager, I wanted to read War and Peace.
Uh-huh.
Never got around to it because of how thick it was.
It's a story. Really quickly, summarization. It's a story about a guy, and so many people betray him. He ends up in a dungeon. He escapes the dungeon, finds a treasure, becomes super wealthy, and plans his revenge of years.
I've definitely heard of this. You the wheels are running in my head. I was like,
Yeah,
I've
dude.
definitely heard of it, just haven't read it myself.
So, anyways, Edmund, your pop's very tech savvy, and he helped you with
Yeah, so he used to have like looper equipment and stuff like
what's
that.
that?
Um
Like the movie Looper? You go back in time and shit.
no. So like, he had a lot of technology from like the late 2000s, like talking like 2010s. So he wanted me, my brother, once again, I think he was projecting a little of himself too much on my brother and I, a lot of expectations and stuff. But he wanted us to be in like a family band or something like that.
Okay,
So he wanted to do the
like Jackson
guitar,
5.
something like that. I was just like, I
Is it
mean,
Jackson 2?
it'd been the threes because my older brother jokes.
Okay, so it's three of you guys.
Yeah,
Three
so
boys?
it's three boys and then my mom. So you can only imagine the gray hairs we were giving her growing up. But yeah, so I was like, he wanted to do the guitar. I would have been doing the violin at the time. I think my brother, I think he's always played the flute, so I think he was gonna do the flute. He wanted me to learn the keyboard, maybe even the drums. So he had this huge idea for it, and then he bought this equipment. And so, like, much like we have the microphone right here, he had some looper equipment. So pretty much what you would do is you would say it into the mic, and you would be able to just record that, start a loop, and add beats. Very
Okay.
like music production at that time period. And so I was just like, with me and my brother, we used to mess around with stuff like that, where my dad would hear the songs we would make and he's just like, that's not fucking music. I don't know what the fuck that is. That's not music. Me and my brother listened to it. We'd like put like a cup in a spoon and just like shake it really hard into the microphone. We'd be over here like think we're like Avatar: The Lost Airbender, like airbending and stuff, like making sound effects like that. We'd be making tracks like that. I was like, so not per se an instrument, but making music still and things like
Um,
that.
what kind of music does your dad like?
Christian music.
Now, what kind of music did he like then?
Christian music.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, he would put me on like, I as much as I like to joke about that, my dad did expose me to a lot of different music as well. I think his favorite guitarist out there would be Santana. I think he had a good music catalog. He used to have, back then, especially 2000 stuff, you have digital tracks and everything like that. My dad's catalog was huge. Like he used to have like those big hard drives full of music that
Mm.
he might have spent like 50 cents on it. He just had a surplus of music, and it's just kind of like whether it's classic rock even. But the music he always wanted to do, he wanted to tie it into ministry and stuff like that. And he kind of projected those ideologies onto us as well, where he's just like, oh, well, if we're going to be doing this band, if we're going to be doing that, then I want it to be related to that. Me and my brother are kind of like, we just like music, dog. Like, we just be kids and
How
like
old?
music.
Who's older, you or your brother?
My brother's older by 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny. I found myself listening to music, and then I'm like, wait, why the fuck am I rocking out to this? I think this is Christian music. I'm like, change this shit. I'm like, no. But I'm like, you guys got really good at sneaking that shit in there.
You know what's funny actually is because like within
Hold
the
on, let me get my coffee.
you're good within the electronic music scene and everything is there's a genre called like progressive house and like progressive stuff where I think the maybe like the mid 2000s 2010s like 2015 2014 that's kind of when it started popping. I have a friend like that's his favorite genre,
Which
but
is progressive.
progressive. And so I was like, with it, it's kind of funny though, because essentially I make fun of that genre because I'm over here like, well, that's essentially like non-Christian EDM. Like it sounds very much like Christian music
Uh-huh.
without being Christian music. If it gives you like the euphoric like energy, like like all that, like
You know what? We were talking about it with Nova, and just saying like I've never liked that high pitched EDM.
hmm,
I don't know what type that would specifically
with
be.
just high pitch.
Yeah, when it's like um
Recreate it on the mic real quick.
I don't even know how to do it. It would be like like that early 90 no 2000s EDM. I
Okay.
like bass heavy
Same.
techno music. Like,
Okay. Solid.
techno house, deep house, hard house. Once it's like
Love
ding
hard
ding
house.
ding 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 ding. Like I'm just like, what the
You
fuck?
just did the Mortal Kombat theme song.
Exactly. I was thinking in my head, I was like, that's fucking Mortal Kombat. I can't. I hate that music. It's too up there. And certain people like it. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing.
Okay, so that is there would be some overlaps with that with I guess progressive house. So
Is that what it would be? Progressive?
not
Maybe?
exactly, but I would say there's overlaps with it.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we'll keep progressive away from you.
yeah, I mean, I'll listen to it, but I'll talk shit about it. Just like with Christian music, it's just rubs me the wrong way.
Same. I mean, with
It-
me,
it-
it's a little more layered than that for me. Is because with me, I believe I'm spiritual,
are your
um,
parents Catholic or Christian?
Christian.
Okay.
Interesting enough, I was just like a lot of Filipinos are like Catholic, and I was like a lot of Latinos are Catholic as well. I've been in Christian churches, been in Catholic churches. My parents used to force me to go to church, so I think that there's some kind of resentment there. But at the same time, I think I still was going to church on my own for about 8 years
Oh wow.
without my parents because I wanted to figure out whether it was for me or not.
Yeah.
I think the institution of a church and stuff like that isn't per se for me, but I think the Bible, any religion is left up into interpretation. Whatever your personal interpretation is, that is up to you. And so for me, you can still take the morals without per se believing
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I think for us that sometimes people say it's like, damn, dude, you guys are weird. The way you guys talk to your mom
them. Huh.
or the relationship, it's very open. Like I can't talk to my mom like that. I
I
can't
can talk to my mom about anything.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like the way that I can express myself with her, or even the conversation of religion. My
Mm,
parents are not religious, right? My parents are not old school traditional Latino family, Hispanic family,
mm.
which like respect me and you got to believe in God and you got
Respect
to
to
get
God. And it's just like I feel like with me, like it lit once again, I like those ideals, like pure idealization and stuff like that, it limits you to the possibility of other things.
it does. It sucks because again, some people are so ingrained in it,
Hmm.
and it's like again, I respect, right?
I mean, I'm a historian, so I can pull out like Carfax too about religion and how divisive it can be, and you can still see it as being divisive even today. So
Of
like that's
course,
why I could kind of care less
I
for
could
it.
play devil's advocate with them, and it's like, I'm really gonna get under your skin. And the problem is, or this is the thing though, I know that I'm gonna get under your skin.
Have you ever seen The Boys?
Yeah, yeah,
So I think it's the first season where like Billy Butcher goes to kind of like the like church retreat and he
yeah.
just like pretty much topples people's realities. And it's kind of like,
It-
you don't have to be that guy, but I know I could be if
I
I wanted
could be.
to.
I could be. And the thing is, it's nice to be able to talk to someone that you can say certain things that it's humor, right? At the end of the day, it's humor. You and I can fuck around. I think we could fuck around and
I
talk
think we're
about
very like-minded on stuff. I was
yeah.
just like, I I think I have a difference of opinion from a lot of people my age and just a lot of people in general, but like it's not like I'm not misinformed.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing, right? And so when someone believes what they believe, and it's like you can't open up their mind, it's like, you know what, man? Like, I'm not gonna go there. Like, I don't need to poke at them. You know,
Yeah,
I don't need to
exactly.
poke at
I'm
them.
respectful of your beliefs and everything. And
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue that I have, and this is the biggest issue that I was kind of bringing up with my dad, is because of his idealizations, especially with the Christian faith, especially that, he's, I'd say, very radical. If I was fully transparent with my dad, he would curse me. He's like, "Oh, you're a horrible person. This is that,"
Well, your dad better
and
not watch this.
I don't think he will. If he does,
Okay.
hi, Dad.
Love you, Dad. Edmund Dantes.
I'm doing drugs. I'm a bad kid.
We're all and something, man.
But well, like you were saying, is contrast of that. My mom, Filipino culture, very understanding culture, very loving culture, non-judgment.
Is your dad Filipino?
No.
What nationality?
My
is your
dad. So
pops?
this is the issue with my dad. If my dad was claiming a nationality, like I'd probably say would say white or
Okay.
American, which isn't really like yes and no, because even with my education and stuff, like white isn't really like a cultural thing. Like I'm not gonna get into that, but
I mean, see, that's a weird thing because I'll get into it
my
with my.
dad's roots, if he actually did the education like I did, I had to learn all this education about my family on my own that he never did. Is, he's English. His lineage from his father was they came on the Mayflower. His lineage was actually from Puerto Rico. And his family was very, his mom was a first generation Puerto Rican immigrant.
I don't mean to say this in
You're
a
good.
bad way. Why do you say it like that?
With the acente?
Yeah.
Just kind of the proper way of saying it, I guess. I mean, I could say
No,
Puerto
no, no. I'm
Rican,
not. I'm
but
not telling you to say it, but
no.
I'm just curious because the other day I said something, and Diego said he asked me the same question because I was saying it Puerto Rico. He's like, "Why aren't you saying it the other way?" I'm like, "Dick, because I'm talking English." But uh, so right now that you're saying it, and you've said several terms in Spanish,
Yes.
and when you say them in Spanish,
So the
you
reason why I do that,
yeah,
this is a
just
personal thing
curious.
for me, is with me, I was never taught about my culture growing up. I had to find all of this on my own.
Uh huh.
So for me, if there's any time for me to practice, any time for me to use the proper terminology, con acente, con todo, I'm going to do it.
Okay, cool.
And it's kind of
That makes
me
sense.
re-identifying with that and kind of just like that's where my family comes from. I was just like, may it not be the culture that I was raised with. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have lived in LA, a very ethnically diverse culture where I was always surrounded by Mexican culture or Latino culture and stuff like that. So I have an appreciation for it.
That's cool.
And
I never looked at it that way, but I understand what you're saying.
yeah, and
So Puerto Rico,
so
Mayflower.
his mom emigrated from Puerto Rico. His parents had a divorce, so that kind of also muddied his education about where he comes from, stuff like that. I actually, through my own research, I found out that his grandfather was the mayor of Caguas,
What's
and
that?
like that's a town in Puerto Rico
Okay.
in like the 1930s, 40s. Clearly, as a mayor, you have to be politically active and things like that. And I've learned so much stuff that my dad doesn't even know. Where
Yeah.
it's kind of I was like, yeah, this is our family story. Like I was just like, you have the one that you're familiar with, and but he still doesn't fully resonate and identify with that. He would rather just say he's white and American. And I'm like, that's cool if that's your thing and whatnot. But I'm just gonna come out and say when you're racist, like that's kind of an issue.
Yeah.
So like
But how could he be racist though if he's with a Filipino?
just him like as an individual, like some of his radical ideologies and opinions and stuff like that, like he doesn't critically think, just kind of accepts things, like he can be easily indoctrinated into that culture. And with that, just because he's in a relationship with my mom doesn't mean he ever appreciated or respected her culture. He used to isolate me, my brother, and my mom from our family and
Mm.
not allow us to do that. Like I'm the black sheep of my family essentially on my Filipino side because I was never around. I never got to experience that. I never got to do that. Only education I ever got, only experiences I got was from my mom. But even then, it sucks because like Filipinos are very community oriented. I would go to Filipino parties with my mom and stuff like that, and I like they're talking and they'll speak with their native tongue, and like I'm over here like I can't even do anything. But I actually have some positive stuff on that too. Is the one way, and this is why music's so important for me too. Is is a universal language, and that's why I feel like a lot of Filipinos and a lot of Asian communities, just a lot of people in general, love karaoke. So, sometimes you can use music to communicate things that you wouldn't be able to say otherwise.
Music saves
It
lives.
does.
I just had this curator tell me that art saves lives, and I agree.
Art in all
Art in
forms.
all forms.
Like that's why everything that I'm trying to do, I don't want to be limited to one thing, one canvas, whatever. I'm trying to paint on everything if I
Mm.
can.
Yeah, dude, I'm fucking loving my art. I'm loving my journey with art. Um, but going back to like what you were saying about like the being white, it's funny because I've been called a wood, you
Okay.
know, obviously. Um, and for those of you who don't know, it's a peckerwood, right? So white
Mm,
boy. Um, because I don't necessarily resemble the typical Salvi,
gotcha.
you know. And my family's called me white boy since I was a kid, güero.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, it's not like self-identity issues because, I know who I am, but
But still, like those comments, like they do weigh on your mind, like especially as a kid. Like if you walked around calling a kid like pancita or like pancito, like that's gonna affect that kid. Like and like that's kind of like even with like Latino culture, sometimes those nicknames and stuff. You're like, oh no, it's just a cute nickname. I'm like, no, like that kind of hurts. Being like I had a friend in elementary school, like his nickname was Torta. Like, but
see,
he
but
owned that shit.
but
Like
that's what I'm
he.
saying though. Like, if you're a pansy, if you're a dude that gets easily offended, to each their own. That's not fucking me, and we can't be friends,
if
right?
you if you can't if you can't endure the heat, get the fuck out
You,
the kitchen.
it's jokes and it's humor. It's part of the culture.
Yeah.
So like being called white boy, like never, or even Diego, like being called
I think it
white.
would just be a misunderstanding of those people of who you are. And once
Yeah,
again, that's them projecting themselves onto you. That doesn't have to define you, and you already know that.
right. And so then the thing is, like, when you start filling out paperwork, when you get to a certain age, it's like, I'm like, what am I? Like, Hispanic, on the application.
Those applications by default are meant to limit your understanding of stuff. If I was like honestly, maybe it's my form of expression as an artist. If I wanted to and just mess around, I'd probably just check all the boxes and be
Yeah.
like, I'm just fucking human, dog.
Well, that's the thing, right? So again, when you get a home loan, I have to identify you. I have to
Gotcha.
identify your race, your demographic,
Right.
and either you tell me
Or
or
you kind of have to assign it at
I
that
have to
point.
assign it.
Hmm.
And the one that I didn't know was race, right? So ethnicity and then race.
Those are two different things.
And so then I'm like, I'm white. Like at the end of the day, that's my race. Like,
Mm.
when we're talking about demographics and,
It's
and
interesting because, like, with me, that's why, like, there's a shift to ethnic studies rather than even saying, like, race and stuff like that. Because, I mean, I'm educated and I can, like, speak on this because I would consider it's, like, my expertise. Is race is a made up concept. Like,
oh,
race doesn't actually exist. Ethnicity exists because it's linked to culture.
okay.
And there's, like, a difference between that and per se, because, like, race is just more appearance based.
Right.
Doesn't mean, like, the effects of racism doesn't actually hold like affect people, but like the whole concept at its core is made up.
Yeah, that was really weird for me. I'm like, I guess I gotta put white. Like, okay, I guess I'm white, but then it's like the whole thing. It's like you can be a white Mexican,
Right,
right? Like you can be a white Brazilian.
right.
It's like the color of
And
your
that's where
skin.
I'm saying like that's kind of where you eliminate that potential bias. I guess that's the way I would put it. Is like, instead of limiting yourself to just being that. I guess I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I'm confused now. No, I'm kidding.
I was about to be like, your confusion's confusing me. Maybe I need to backtrack too.
So now you're writing your book.
Yes.
When are you going to finish your book by?
No deadline. I guess with me and my form of my art is it takes me as long as it takes me. I think with me, I've been limited by a lot of structure in my life, and so just me as my artist, or at least for the past 2 months, has just been chaotic, hungry artist. So I'm just having fun with it. Like I said, I'm maybe like about 80% with it
Oh,
done. I've been very occupied with work and some of the other stuff that I've been trying to do and push, but paso a paso, step by step.
yeah. So, and again, it's going to be your life story more than anything.
Well, it's like it's a fictionalization and stuff like that. It's more also kind of to evoke nostalgic. I want it to be very readable, for
What
anyone to
age
read it.
level?
I'd probably just say adult. I was like originally I did want to. I was talking to your brother about this. Was that originally did want it to be for kids, like people that might like feel alone, might have very like because I've struggled with depression, suicide, anxiety. I want those kids to not feel like they're alone. Understand that you can rise above this. That this is coming from someone that's been there. And so it's a hard topic to write about because you don't want to glamorize those thoughts. You don't want to glamorize those things. You want to kind of be a beacon for those kids. And so with me originally, I was just like, well, if I'm trying to do that, do I omit this stuff to censor myself so it could be readable by kids? And I was just like, honestly, where I'm at with this book, I was like, I don't think everything that I'm trying to go for can be censored really. And so I think I want to write another book after this one and follow it up where it would be tailored to kids, um, a lot happier per se. I was talking to your brother about it where he was talking about the comic strip and the nieces and stuff like that, and he's kind of like that art and how that's kind of like relatable to them. There's a lot of messaging behind that. For me, I kind of want to do something superhero based for those kids where whenever there's a potential traumatic event that happened to me, a superhero comes in and saves the day.
Who's your favorite superhero?
I
Top three.
I gotta go with Jason Todd. He's more of an anti-hero. Red Hood.
Okay. So, but Red Hood, not Red Robin.
Red Hood.
Red Robin.
Red Hood. I
I'm
gotta
like
go
Red
with Red
Robin.
Hood.
Robin Hood. So you're going with Red Hood. Okay.
Yeah, sure. We'll go you.
But
we'll
he's
talk-
but he's like, I mean, he's kind of like the Punisher.
yeah. We could.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? I was just like,
Okay.
that's a label put on him. Doesn't mean he can't do good things. Doesn't mean all that. It's just he goes about it the wrong way sometimes, or
Okay.
unconventional means. But
Okay.
he
I'll
could
give you
do
that
some
one.
heroic stuff, and in some storylines and stuff, he is the hero. Like me, actually, a lot of people, comic book readers and stuff, they like, especially within the DC fan base, like to shit talk the New 52 and everything.
The New 52.
It
What
was
is that?
a series of comics, pretty much, where like there's different eras. Like there's the Crisis on Infinite Earths, different timings. I was like, there's the Golden Age of comics, Silver Age of comics, things like that. DC wanted a new brand, a new era of stories, so they just reset the universe essentially.
Okay.
And same characters, just different things. So it's
Different
like
things happening.
Red Hood, he kind of was on a team, and he's got his own issues and stuff, but he's working on a team, and they're actually doing good work, and it's a different take that would be seen per se like in the past. So I was like, so he can be a hero sometimes, he can be a
Okay.
villain sometimes. That's what makes him an anti-hero. I mean, people love Deadpool, and I
Yeah.
was like, but if you had Deadpool actually in your life, would you fucking want to be friends with him?
Yeah, he's a fucking weirdo, bro.
Probably not.
So Red Hood, Jason Todd. Who else?
um
Two other ones.
let's go with Cyclops, X-Men.
Okay.
I like pretty much just there's been a lot of different takes about like Cyclops and everything, and
Which Cyclops do you like?
I'm talking about Scott Summers.
Yeah, but which one though? Like the one from X-Men, the cartoons, the comic books, the movie.
I'll probably go with the comics.
Okay,
I'll
fuck
go with
yeah.
the comics. I was like,
I hate the Cyclops from the movies. He's a pansy.
he
He's a
is. He's
punk.
not
He's
Cyclops. He's
not.
not. Fuck that guy. He's not
He's a
Cyclops.
fucking idiot. He's a dork. Like,
Cyclops is the
he's the
leader
leader.
of the X-Men.
Correct.
What I like to point out for people, especially my little stuff that I identify with, like the X-Men and stuff, is he's kind of meant to be a frontline soldier. You know, he's supposed to be the living embodiment of Charles and everything, his messaging and everything, but also he's on the trenches. So he's the one that actually, like, you know, Charles can kind of remove himself from that. He gets to call out Charles and be like, listen, no, this is how it really is doing this shit. This is that real life shit.
That's the thing, dude. I've always critiqued the fucking X-Men movies because
He's the compass of the X-Men. Every time you see him in it, he's just this little punk.
He's a punk. He gets punked around by Wolverine.
He's
He's barely in the fucking movie.
disrespectful to Cyclops.
A total disrespect to Cyclops.
You know what? If they want to fix Cyclops, cast me as Cyclops. That's what I say.
All right, Cyclops. I'll give you that one too. All right, third one.
I'm just thinking of The Boys.
The Boys is dope, dude. I like that show. It's a cool show.
Let's see. I'm trying to pick a hero from that.
Like the first scene, dude, when that guy kills that girl on the steps. I'm like, what?
set the tone
I'm
for the
so
show.
fucking watching this show,
You know what?
man.
I'll go with Soldier Boy.
Soldier
with
Boy.
Soldier Boy. He's pretty much he's a realistic Captain America if he was from the 70s.
Soldier Boy's which one?
I don't know if you watched the second season.
Yeah.
Or is it the third season? I want to say it's the second season. He's kind of like the one with the shield. He's always like super quippy. He was like in the TV shows and stuff. He was supposed to be like Homelander before Homelander was.
But then there was
thing.
something off about him, right?
Yes. So he got pretty much sandbagged by his team because he was kind of a piece of shit. And then he got like ice. He's like a combination of Captain America and Winter Soldier. That's what I kind of got from it, or that take in The Boys, like the TV show, not the comics.
Dude, that's such a cool show because I love all those comic books, like storylines and shit like that.
I would say it's like very critical. Like I like how they kind of try to be critical of current events and stuff like that and throw that stuff in. They're not afraid to take jabs at Marvel, DC, make fun of it, make fun of people that are living in the binary, that are just pure idealists and kind of like, nah.
What are you, a Marvel or DC?
That's a hard question because it depends on the medium. I would say, as like whether you're talking comic books, cartoons, movies. Like it's interesting
That's
how
true.
the tones of them change very drastically between the medium that you're talking about. So to me, I would just say I'm both. I guess I'd say I'm a fan of both.
Yeah, I love both. The only thing I would
Don't
say
make me choose. I choose both. I was like, if you're Morpheus here, give me the red pill, blue pill. I'm gonna take the purple pill, combine them.
It's I think if gun ahead, I'd go with DC.
I am excited for that. I'm mad excited for that.
For which one?
For everything that Gun's gonna be doing with DC.
Oh no! What I was saying, gun to my head.
Oh, gun to your head.
Gun to my head. DC or Marvel? The James Gunn, yeah, sure. But gun to my head, Marvel, DC. I'd go with DC just because it's darker, it's grittier.
There we go.
You know,
that's the same reason why I like DC more.
Yeah.
And I would say this too. I'm gonna talk about more recent DC. So I was like, I'm gonna bring up Peacemaker, John Cena.
Okay. Yeah.
That's an interesting hero within itself.
It's so funny, dude.
He's
John
a hero.
Cena's a fucking hilarious guy.
I can relate to him too, though, because like, you know, like I said, I feel like my dad, he's became more radicalized and stuff like that. So I was like, my dad has a lot of racist ideologies per se. And
okay.
Peacemaker for me, I'm kind of like, dude, like, you know, maybe not exactly like my dad wasn't a white supremacist and shit like that, but the biggest thing that I had to kind of wrestle with myself as I went through my 20s, and I'm approaching my mid 20s, is I'm not my dad. I don't have to be my dad. I can differentiate from him. I could vastly differentiate from him. I don't need to let him define me, and I don't have to live in his shadow.
I mean, aren't we all a little racist though?
Sometimes, yeah.
You know, at least humor, right? If it's done
Humor,
with, it's like it has to be done with humor, man.
and I think even with that, like, that's how we relate to each other sometimes. It's like, like,
I appreciate everybody's differences, man. Like one of the things you said, you grew up in LA, right? There's obviously a lot of Mexicans, right? But there's also blacks. There's Asians. You and I got to grow up with so many cultures around us,
yeah,
and there are differences.
yeah.
And I'm not gonna be like, no, we're all the fucking same. No, we're fucking not. We're not the same, and that's a good thing.
Sometimes but like, what also it does is accepting our differences. Like,
Correct.
I remember,
I'm
like,
not saying we're different and I fucking hate you. It's like we're
yeah,
different and that's dope, right?
right, exactly. And I was like, I think that's, you can get into like hot water easily depending on what you say to those people because of a misunderstanding of culture. Like, I think I'm gonna throw this out there as an example because I love music and stuff. Is, you could look at stuff like maybe like Ice Cube's Black Korea and some of the stuff that was going on within LA in the early 90s. You had what happened with Rodney King, you had the uprising, riots, etc. Whatever lens you want to analyze that through, you have that going on. You have not only the black community experiencing it in one way, you have Korean shop owners experiencing it the same way, and then you have Latinos experiencing it a certain way. And they're all reacting to this, and you see like pretty much police, you see the government response to that. And how does that differ from per se the working class? And it's just kind of it's interesting when you like it's interesting because like Ice Cube was trying to reflect his reality within his community, got into some hot water with the Korean community, but then after that he pretty much made reparations back to that, where he actually donated money to some of their causes and things and tried to make things right. Doesn't change the hurt from some of the words he said, but at the same time he understood what he did was wrong, pretty much fell on his own sword and was just like, I'm sorry. And that's kind of a beauty where like you're kind of saying, I was like, sometimes we are a little racist and stuff. Acknowledge that. If you overstepped and whatnot, we're all human at the end of the day. Everyone fucks up.
What was Black Korea? I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Let me see. I'll pull it up on my phone.
Was it a
I'm not
song
gonna
where
play.
you're
It is a song, but like he was pretty much just saying, from his reality, like Ice Cube grew up on the streets and stuff like that. When you have Korean shop businesses and stuff where they sometimes racially profile,
Right.
and they can be a little aggressive, but it's a cultural difference.
See, that's one of the things, dude. Like, I've talked about this with my mom, and, I don't know if I've ever said this, but my mom said, I had never seen a black person till I came to the United States.
Hmm.
Right. So
That's something
she's,
my mom as well. Because when she was a first generation immigrant from the Philippines, like sometimes Filipinos can be indirectly racist because they were never exposed to it.
she was never exposed to it. And,
Well, not it,
like,
but exposed to black people, like their
yeah.
community.
And, it's, I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, what do you
Right.
mean? She goes, there's no black people in El Salvador.
Hmm.
There's like, we're not on the coast. So she's like, there's blacks in Honduras. Like, there's
They got some melanin.
no, like literally black,
Yeah.
right? Just like you would see him like, oh, it's a black guy,
Yeah.
There's Colombians that like a lot of the countries, because again, slavery obviously wasn't just the United States. A little, not a little known fact, but a fact that I can throw out is that Mexico ended slavery before the United States did.
Yep.
Right. And so there's black Mexicans, right? Like people don't know that. So anyways, having that conversation with my mom, she's like, I had never experienced that culture.
Mhm.
Right. Coming to this country, it's like, oh, like in El Salvador, yeah, every now and again you would see maybe an Asian, you'd see white, you'd see European, but not black, and
Yeah.
so here is where she came to learn about black culture,
Mhm.
right? And
it's different from like someone like I don't know what age you came like did you go through like the US education system? I guess that's what
yeah,
I'm
I came here
asking.
when I was 5.
So I was just like they can teach you that history per se where like our parents, especially if
They
they
didn't
were
know that.
immigrants, no, they don't have that information with us. So I was like, oh, so it's like this is what happened on this land. Like this is what happened here. Like
Mhm.
this is their experience. This is their generational trauma.
Correct. And
But
I tell her, I'm like, dude, one of the things to me is when I see an older black lady, I guess I know it sounds weird, but I think of my grandmother. My grandmother was
mm,
dark, right? They called her La Negra,
mm,
right? Um, and so it's this thing for me where my mom didn't know a lot of the things that they had gone through, and in this country. And I'm like, Mom, this is like fuck when you were alive,
yeah.
right? When you were born, like there's like the civil rights and shit like
Yeah.
that.
Same thing with my parents. Like it's interesting because, like I said, I was bringing up the LA uprising of 1992,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked my parents because it's like you had everything that was going on with George Floyd, a few years back,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was just like, what happened in 1992? I was just like, I mean, y'all were living in LA, like what happened? And they're like, oh, like, well, I saw it on the TV, I saw the news, but we just stayed inside, and I was kind of like. I did a research project in college where I actually went through like archival footage, like video, just like handheld camera footage, raw on the streets, like from those events. Is kind of like that's a different story than what was put on the news.
Hmm.
And then you can read articles and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, huh, like lived realities and stuff like that. Is just it's just sometimes you can live in your own bubble and not be exposed to stuff.
It is. Yeah, I think one of the great things about my parents is that they're always super open, man.
Mm.
Um, Always super open to learn, to look at things from a different perspective, angle, and to be like, okay,
Critically
like,
think.
yeah, like I didn't know that, or
Yeah.
I'll put on a movie for them, like, hey, I want you to watch this. This is a true story. Like,
I can have that with my mom. I can't have that with my dad.
still,
Yeah. He's very like I said, it's
some of
the
us,
issue with it is that he's very set in his ways.
yeah,
There's only so much that I can say to someone that has lived 30, 40, 50 years living a certain way. And under like for him it's just like it's my way or the highway. Like if you don't agree with me, like I don't want anything to do with you.
yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, like thanks, I guess.
So the thing is, same thing. My mom has always said, like, you can understand someone doesn't mean you have to accept it.
Mhm.
I mean, you can understand where they came from, why they are the way they are, why they believe what they believe, but it'll help you,
Yeah.
but doesn't mean you have to accept it. You know.
And I think that's the biggest thing, even with me, like despite my dad's shortcomings and stuff, where I was like, I wish he was more like open minded. I still love him, and I was like,
Correct.
I can still accept him and stuff, and understand that he's still human at the end of the day, and especially with, I brought up that he has mental health issues and stuff. Is some of those things I can't blame him,
Right.
and I'm kind of like, I have to be the bigger person. I have no other option than to do that. It's just, I guess for me, is just, I have the added baggage of this guy used to be my abuser, used to physically, psychologically, all that. And he still wants a relationship with me. Do I be the bigger person and let us have that? And I'm very happy to say that, you know, I'm able to do that. I was just like, where, you know, some people might not be able to. And there's like, you know what? Peace out.
Yeah, man. That's tough, man. I have a friend of mine who did some counseling for some parents that were involved in a school shooting,
Mm,
and from a psychological standpoint, to be there for them, and that a lot of the people that were going to talk to the parents, they kept talking about God and forgiveness
mm.
and
I
certain
would respectfully, I would say that that's a little tone deaf in light of like
the
something like that
situation.
happen. Yeah, like it's kind of like I don't know. It could be a silver lining where it's like you're providing that as an outlet, as a safe space for them to heal, but also it could be that like I just or at least if I was in that situation, I'm like I'm literally in the middle of like mourning my like child. Like I just kind of need my own space. Like I don't need you to be asserting religion on me. But that's
Right.
just my take. But it's like continue on the story.
No, so then my friend says, like, I could see the face of one of the because a girl survived and the dad was there of the girl that had survived, and the anger, right? The
Mm.
the revenge that he wanted to be able to take at a later date. And so my friend, who's a psychologist, said, I wouldn't fucking blame him. if he wanted to take fucking revenge. This is not a
Mm,
moment for me to talk to him about God and
right.
forgiveness and all this shit while everybody else is doing it. And so the head psychologist was just saying, once they got all the psychologists back together and said, look, at the end of the day, you guys are all capable of doing this,
Yeah.
right? Um, and what I shared with her. I said it reminds me of this thing where how all these guys became Nazis. Not all of them believed that,
No.
but you start pushing the line enough, people end up doing atrocities,
Yeah.
right? Because the humans may be able to do certain things, and so then it's to say you never know which route to take with something that you've been through, right? Do you
Mm-hmm.
take the religious approach? Are you able to forgive? Some people are able to forgive. And then there's others that it's the going back to the comic books where I've said I love Superman. I mean Superman is the shit. But
What's your favorite Superman actor?
Christopher Reeves.
Fair.
I
Um, I love Christopher Reeves.
Cavill is dope, but he's an angry Superman.
He is. He's. Come on. Who's the director?
That's my problem. Where I'm like, that is not the in the books, in the comics, in the TV. Superman's always been dorky as fuck.
DC animated.
He's always been like Clark Kent. We're talking about Clark Kent.
He's campy.
He's dork, like hey, like always fumbling shit.
Superman.
And then he becomes Superman. He's fucking the Man of Steel, but
Yeah.
he's still a nice guy. Cavill, I love the character, but I have to completely separate it and say this is another universe. This is another Superman because that is not.
That's the only way you can really watch it.
That's the only way I can watch it.
I was like, there's several takes of like superhero stuff where I have to be like, this is a different universe,
Correct.
Nathan. You can't be over here switching this over like that. So
this is the thing. Superman is justice. Batman is vengeance.
yeah.
So I'm 100% fucking Batman. I don't give a fuck. Like, if someone does something to your daughter, you want to go kill that motherfucker? Like,
I am chaotic evil. Like that's like low-key me too. As like with me, like I had a friend that recently went through a very traumatic experience where he was abused by a woman, especially men in our society and stuff where it comes to like certain situations is we can't speak up about certain things because it could easily get flipped on us, and whether it's true or not, now you're the one in a hot seat
yeah.
instead of you being the victim here. Now it's actually them the victim. So with him, he's been really wrestling with this. And like I remember because he wanted to deal with this, he's like, dude, like I think I should just like confront her about it. Like I think I should pull up at her work and like just give her my like I'm not trying to like do anything, but I just want to give her my peace of mind. It's the only way I can find peace and stuff. And I told him, I was like, dude, like whatever you need to do to heal from the abuse that you experienced, I say fucking do it.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of person where I am. I was like very like similar to that revenge and stuff. Whatever brings you your peace from that hurt, you should probably do it. I was just like, I mean, there's healthy ways of doing it. There's unhealthy ways of doing it. That's for you to decide. I'm not going to be the one to tell you what to do, but I'm going to be supporting of that regardless.
Well, that's the thing. That's where like I agree with my friend when she's sharing these things with me, and I'm like, dude, that's fucking gnarly, man. Like if it was scorched earth, all right, scorched earth. We're fucking talking about Mad Max shit.
All right.
I'd be willing to do some evil shit to live and to take care of my loved ones.
I would too.
You know what I mean? Like I know
not everyone can flip that switch.
Oh, fuck. Let's go. Let's fucking go. That switch is so fucking like click, 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 click. I could flip that motherfucker all day long because there's this fucking fire in me as a person, and I recognize who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to like
it's a different energy for sure.
Oh.
I was just like not everyone can lock in with that. I'm very blessed to say that all the stuff that I think I had a recent reignition of that, and it's like so empowering. It's like just I was like, there's no other way to live.
It's just like I got me and I got mine. I got me and I got mine. Because this
You
fucking
can't be for everyone.
no, absolutely not. Some people like us, some people don't. But this is the thing. 200 years ago, that's what it was.
Hmm.
Fight and fend for your own. It wasn't that long ago,
Yeah.
right?
No.
100 years ago, the 1920s, let's say, still there's big cities, but mostly the communications between just like kind of the people like very
Right.
not that many people traveled. Travel wasn't
Local
as
community based.
local community based. Um, but it's a matter of perspective, and so if internet goes away, flights go away, things stop. It becomes we become primal at that point, and I'm very
Ah.
fucking in touch with my primal to take care of what the fuck I need to take
Hmm.
care of. And so when someone's been through something, I could say, look, man, my opinion is I'm the type of person that I gotta let go and move on. It's easier said than done. Um, and some of us need external help to help us process our things. And I also understand when shit fucking goes south where
There's an over reliance on technology, especially with my generation. I don't like, I'm very happy where I'm currently at, where I'm only using technology as a tool. I don't use it as a crutch. I don't use it as a distraction. That's all I use it for. And
I
I
mean,
feel
you
like
use it to make your music.
that's a tool.
There you
And so I was just like, but I'm very happy with the direction I'm going currently as an artist, where, you know, I just graduated. My job was linked with being a college student. I had maybe like a 2 month gap where I was just like, you know what? Do I want to get another job? For 2 months, I've been unemployed slash self employed, and it's made me hungry. It's made me, this hungry artist. Like, I was just like, I might be very misunderstood by people, but I'm like, nah, like, you don't understand the energy that I have right now. Like, it's literally do or die, and it's more just me on my own terms. I don't need to rely on anything for myself. It's sink or swim. And it's kind of, you can apply that to any situation in your life where you don't have to force it like I am per se, but it gives you that primal energy per se. And I'm glad I'm locking in with it.
That's cool,
I think
man.
I needed it at this part of my life. And, maybe I'll need structure, a little more structure in the future, but I'm betting on myself, and I'm willing to see what these doors open.
Boys,
What about the boys?
bet on yourself.
Yeah.
So it's
Always bet on yourself.
yeah, man. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like if someone I mean,
If you're gonna gamble and take a risk, why not do it on your own terms? Why not do it on yourself?
mhm.
You can bet on other people and stuff that can be beneficial for you, but how many times are they going to have your back? How many times are they going to actually support and do that? There's a certain strength with working and collaborating with others, but also just understanding that you can take care of yourself if you need to is a very powerful thing and a very powerful statement.
Just don't fucking put me in the desert and expect me to light a fire and find water. I'll fucking die, bro. Um, so what's next for you? I mean, I know you're working on your book, you're DJing, right?
Yeah.
So what's
So
next?
I'm also in training for wrestling. So I think those are the main kind of artists, like canvases and mediums in my life at the moment. I think by the end of the year, I think I set the deadline originally that I wanted my book done by the end of the year. I think even healthier and probably like a more accurate representation of that is probably before the end of the summer. I could probably have that book ready, my version of it, before getting sent to publishers and editors and stuff. Um, as a DJ, I got crunch time before summer. I mean, I want to get my body in shape. I want to be enjoying my summer. Recently single, so
Congratulations.
yeah. Thank you. Looking at that as like a positive. I mean, we and like this is another thing too with my relationship I just got out of. We ended very healthily. We're still very best friends. Like we still want to be in each other's lives and stuff. So
How
that's
long were you
very
guys together?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, it's we both kind of want to explore a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, me being a guy, I've kind of suffocated her a little bit in this relationship, so it's just kind of opportunity for her to just recover from that and just restore that feminine energy for her that I might have been suppressing per se. But yeah, so be expecting me to be throwing my own events. I actually just threw my own event this yesterday.
Oh, nice.
So
Where?
at Leo's Corner in Upland, like
I've heard of that place. I've seen it
it's
several
switched
times.
owners a lot recently, but the new owner's definitely got a good team, a good head on his shoulder, where he's trying to work with the community and stuff and just put the IE on the map. So I was like, with me, I'm very fortunate that he gave me the opportunity to be there to curate an event. I've never done that before. I've always just been a DJ. I literally curated the entire event, brought in like certain people. We were actually even going to be setting up like a podcast at the event to interview DJs, promoters. Actually, Novocaine was on this dude's podcast. His name's DJ Pharaoh. I've been on that podcast. He's doing a lot of stuff for the music community and scene. I love to see it.
That's
Um,
cool, man. Let me know the next one. I'll swing by with my booty shorts,
let's go.
my go-go boots.
Yeah, so I was like, so that event was kick ass for me. I might have drank a little too much. Sorry, not sorry, but it was a good time.
That's good, man.
So I plan on doing a lot more events like that. I want to do some brunch takeover events. So, this event was limited being 21 plus. I want to have some 18 plus events too. I genuinely believe there's not enough 18 plus events to experience like EDM and stuff like that too. I mean, you have like festivals and stuff, but at like local community levels, there needs to be more. So I've got a lot of ideas going towards that. I've got a lot of creative ideas that are in my vault, and I plan on unleashing those very soon.
And people can follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, so that'd be Plain But Frosty, spelled PLAINBUT Frosty. But that's more my musical stuff. I go by Project Frosty. With me, I'm more about like collectively doing stuff too, because it's like I'm just a member of that. I currently have two other members. One of them's a rapper, so I'm fully supporting him and trying to help him out. I have another DJ that I'm bringing on, and we're just trying to build our team essentially. So it's kind of lovely to see and spearheading that. You have my book where I'm adopting a more cultural name for my people, the Ilocano and Filipino people, where I've adopted the name Antiang Zahir. So it's like that's my alias I'm going to be writing books under. And then I have my personal life, which is just my government name, because I don't want anyone to fucking associate with me like with
Right.
that. I need my own personal space from everyone else, and it can be very chaotic, especially in the entertainment industry. So I want to be able to differentiate all the different things I have in my life and kind of be able to separate, between that.
It sounds like you got a good head on your shoulders, man.
Thank you.
Honestly, you're a smart dude.
Yeah.
And I know that sometimes people are nervous, like when they come on, and what I've found is that just like yourself, most people are genuine. Most people are nice and have
Mhm.
interesting things to say. And so, I don't know if
Appreciate you
they.
sharing that.
Yeah, honestly, it was cool. It's been a cool conversation. I don't know if there is anything that I didn't ask you, anything that you like to talk about specifically.
Well, I guess you brought up ways to give back to the community. I actually have fundraised money for philanthropy and stuff like that in the past. I used to do a lot of community service and stuff. I haven't done that more recently. Probably should get back into that. I love being a volunteer in a service to my community. But I guess with me, I actually you when I was in college, when I was 19, I actually fundraised maybe about like $3,000 to $4,000 for Prevent Child Abuse America and child help. And so I guess answering that question, that's one way that I've definitely done that in the past. But with me, I've been still lower economic. I was like, I'm literally jobless, work on becoming self-employed at the moment. But there's a beauty in the chaos, and I'm trusting the process. And once I actually have the means to give back, I definitely planning on doing that.
So I'll give you an idea. Be-
Shoot.
yeah, because I mean, it sounds like you're passionate about your art, right?
Hmm.
All mediums, and it sounds like you are interested in giving back,
Yeah.
right? It's really easy to combine the two.
Well, I guess that one idea that I want to pitch, and this would be working with the local schools and stuff, is I'd actually like to do growing up in LA, I knew they used to have like guest speakers and stuff like that. Just go talk to the kids about stuff and passionate. I'd love to just DJ for the kids, just give back that way and see if they have like finesse musically or get interested in that way, and it could be potential to open up that way too.
There's ways of giving back your time,
Mm.
right?
Right.
Like what you would be doing there, and exposing kids to things, but also through your events.
Mm.
So when you do an event, and what did you guys charge last night? $15?
It's 10.
$10.
Yeah.
Charge $15. $5 goes to charity.
Right. That's true. That's fair. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or $25. Um, and it includes entry, drink, and a portion of funds goes to charity.
That's fair.
So,
Yeah.
hey, Leo, you know what? I like to have an event, a charity event. We're going to donate this money.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yes. So, how much is it going to be for domestic beer? Could you get it down to $7? So I'm going to
Mm.
sell tickets for $20.
Right.
So every ticket, so when they turn in a ticket, you're going to give them a beer, right? Because it's already paid for.
Right.
Because at the end of the night, you're going to check out with him. He's going to tell you, look, I have this many fucking tickets. Like, you need to give me the money. But anyways, if you're selling it for $7, you get $20. Then the rest, the other $13, from the 13, you pay your DJs, right? You pay your DJs. Now you're left with, let's call it $5 at the end of the fucking night.
Right.
$5 per ticket that now can go to a charitable organization that they are supporting and that you and your team are supporting. So it's really easy to give back when you're passionate about something. You just gotta like put it together. You already have the event, you already have the venue, you already have the DJs, you already have the music, you already have the passion. So now it's to say more people would be willing to support it if it was for a great cause.
That's very true. No, that's right on. I was like, I feel like what you're kind of telling me even is work smarter, not harder. You don't have to do extra steps when you already have the stuff that's ready for you.
You already have it, man. You already have it. You just gotta like shift things around.
Yeah.
Gives you an opportunity to allow others to contribute.
Yeah.
You're already doing it with the two friends that you're working with.
Not even just that. I mean, like with me, I've kind of like with me, I'm not like this big name artist either. Like I was like, I have under 1,000 followers. It's like even with that though, is like with me, I'm trying to give a platform for just local DJs and people that normally don't get a foot in the door even. So I was like with me, I have a familiarity with the business at this point where I know how to talk to owners, I know how to do this, I know how to get an event greenlit. And so it's like with me, it's helping those guys kind of get their foot in the door and like do what they're passionate about too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's let me know the next one if it's at Leo's Corner. I've never been there. I've seen some ladies post some vids. I'm like, I think I might need to go to Leo's Corner, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, we'll get this out. I appreciate you coming by. Thank you again, my
I
friend.
appreciate you being you.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. We're good. Anything else you wanna
You
chop
have
it
an
up?
amazing night. Whatever you're doing, enjoy your fucking weekend.
Oh, bro, I'm gonna fucking go paint right now.
That sounds like a good weekend.
Yeah, dude. So I'll share this because here we'll wrap it up. So I went to this gallery yesterday or 2 days ago, and the lady that manages the gallery, she manages about 100 galleries, 100 artists. Also manages the LA Art Gallery.
Okay.
She sent me a text. She said, "Hey, in about a month, I'd like to go see your art."
Mm.
And I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's one of those things where I've been doing my art and I thought she was gonna shit all over my stuff, bro.
Damn.
I thought she was gonna just tell me like this is fucking trash.
You definitely have like an artistic eye. I was like with me, I was like I used to paint as well. I was just like I've taken art classes and I used to draw. Um no, like I was just like everything the message that you're conveying is like uniquely to your expression. And I was just like don't never undersell that. Like I think I recently saw like the piece, the Kobe piece you did. And I was
Yeah.
just like, nah, I was like, I love your artwork. I was
Thank
like,
you, man.
I haven't even like everything that's in this room right now. Like I haven't seen before, but I was just like, just this few things that I've seen. I was like, now seeing this too, I was just like, nah. I was like, you're a true artist. Accept that. Don't undersell yourself.
That's what my friends keep telling me, man. And I'm like, it's easier said than done, man. It's
It is,
easier.
and that's coming from someone like I said that's been a DJ for 8 years, has only performed live for three, and especially within those 3 years, only performed maybe like 10 times because I just wanted to find my unique sound. I didn't want to share that with people yet, but because I took the time and just being one with myself, being one with my art, very much the way you are, now that I'm ready to share that with people, and people look at me and shit, they're like, "The fuck is this kid doing?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "I know what I'm doing."
So we'll see, man. We'll see how that goes for me too. I'm
Sounds good.
excited.
Yeah.